Okay, we're live. Hi,
Woo.
good afternoon. Hi, Avishai. Hi, Daniel. How are
Hi.
you doing?
Hey,
Hey, Utam.
So,
Nice.
oh, good.
Good, good.
Great
yeah,
feeling of accomplishment that we're live, actually.
it only took 7 days, but we're back again, back on the horse this time. So, without further ado, my name is Utam Gutman. I'm the manager of the Cyber Pros community. This is our monthly webinar, although we glitched a little bit from January to February, but we're still on schedule. Today, I have two good friends here with me, and we're going to discuss the challenges of modern day or COVID times marketers, and that's how to personalize your website and your customers' experience. So first, let's say hi to Avishai, CEO of Trendimon.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And Daniel from AudioCodes. We're going to introduce you in a second. I just want to remind our audience a little bit of housekeeping. So this call is scheduled for about 45 minutes. We leave the last 10 minutes for your questions on the right-hand side of the screen. You can share these with us. We promise to answer all your questions. If we won't be able to have a satisfactory answer, I promise that I will write a summary of this call and I will publish it later to all those who participated and share all the links and all the slides, so you don't have to write anything down. Just sit back and enjoy. So Avishai, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you. So yeah, I think as Yuta mentioned, I'd love to introduce Daniel from AudioCodes. And before I let Daniel introduce himself and what he does, just wanted to kind of maybe emphasize why we wanted to invite him. I think AudioCodes is dealing with a very complex and interesting marketing scenario with lots of personas, many different products. So I think they present a very kind of extreme case of the challenge that we want to discuss in this webinar. And as Yutam mentioned, do feel free to submit your questions to Daniel, Yutam, or I, and we'd love to address them further on in the conversation. But now, Daniel, the floor is yours.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Yotam, for inviting me to this webinar, and Avishai also. I'm very honored to be able to speak about my experience in terms of marketing. So first of all, my name is Daniel. I'm working at AudioCodes, which is a high-tech company involved in voice over IP. Basically, they do products and solutions from hardware, software, from physical IP phones to SBCs, which is a system that monitors and connects calls and everything else that's related to voice. We have recording solutions, voice AI technologies. Really, it's a very vast variety, which I'll also talk about what it means in the next couple of slides. And regarding my position, I'm in charge of the marketing operations, which is basically everything that happens in the digital space, from leads that are coming into the websites from one side unknown, going out of the website, or from the marketing funnel and to the sales, everything that happens in between, all of the channels, in charge of everything that the other marketing managers around the world handle online and support them in that, and also make sure that everything just works, and try and also all the time optimize it to get a better success rate with all of our different objectives.
Awesome. And
Cool.
Daniel, just a quick question in terms of how AudioCodes marketing was affected by COVID. So Yotam and I's previous webinar dealt with the transitions in marketing over the past year. How did that affect your company, organization, the transition, and how much emphasis was done on offline events pre-COVID? trade shows versus digital, and how is that being transformed?
That's a good question. Well, obviously, COVID didn't pass us in terms of the effects as every other company. Before COVID, a company is very sales focused, very event focused. Uh, Events was a very big part of how we do business. We join almost every trade show, every event, and every kind of platform for every kind of product that's related to us. Sponsoring, joining, putting up stands. That was like the main budget was always poured onto these, which is a very big amount of budget for everyone here that probably knows how much budget it takes to attend an event, fly people there, and everything regarding accommodation. And basically everything stopped during probably March 2020. Everyone understood, okay, this is not going to happen. And now we've got a big, huge budget that we need to see, first of all, what we're going to do with it. And also we need to see how we're going to manage without the events to still bring more business. And yeah, the digital marketing in AudioCodes really grew during the last year. A lot more budgets, and aside from budget, a lot more connection between sales and our marketing department, which before that was less connected because events would bring leads and the salespeople will just know who they talk to and they continue from there. Now everyone's coming from online, and it really starting to close the gap between the sales and marketing. So that's on one leg what's been going on in our company.
Perfect. And I think we'd love to maybe touch a bit on that later on the connection between marketing and sales, and marketing's role in the buyer enablement process, and really those transitions into sales that marketing is going. I think just one quick comment. I realize I need to change my picture, since at least the biggest transition for me in 2020 is that I look nothing like this. Many more gray hairs. So I should probably update that for the next webinar. Quickly, just running over the agenda. Why did we even want to talk about personalization? Why did we feel this is a topic that deserves some focus? And so I think this is definitely one of the reasons that we see is that companies understand that personalization is very effective, but it's also a big problem in the sense that it's very hard to do it at scale. So that's why we wanted to talk about how to achieve personalization at scale. Again, it's very effective and it's a big challenge. So we thought it could be an interesting topic. So we're going to start about that. A little bit about how the B2B buyer's journey looks like, and some interesting stats from how it's distributed along its path, how many content pieces we see, how many touch points, so forth. Then, of course, speaking with Daniel about how AudioCodes does personalization, their stack, their method, some examples, and mainly the challenges. Again, feel free to have any specific areas that you want to ask, especially after Daniel's great introduction to how they've been transformed over the past year. A little bit about the framework that we have in mind that we see customers use about building these scalable flows, what we call from pools to pipelines. So we have somewhat of an aquatic theme for this framework, but generally it is used to help you think about how to manage these different types of personalization campaigns and efforts through your digital assets. Marketing and sales enablement is a topic that, when Tom and Daniel and I discussed beforehand, we realized this is something that is getting more and more attention. The connection, the integration from the technology perspective, but also from the roles position. So how are marketing people finding themselves helping or needing to augment sales, the sales functions, the sales organization? How does that look like? And how are they becoming more connected as revenue organizations and not as separate marketing and sales? Some key takeaways And one other thing that we thought could be helpful is which tools could be right for you. So talking a little bit about some technologies in personalization, not just Trend Demon, that could be relevant. And again, I think it's always about finding the right fit for your stage of the company. And we see different solutions, different products. Daniel's going to share some of his insights, and Yotam, of course. But we thought it could be interesting to also share some of our perspective there. A few words about our Maze Master competition, which is where we're gonna put B2B marketers go head to head in seeing who can generate the most uplift in personalization campaigns. So again, a bit of a kooky idea that we had to see if we can have a personalization contest or a challenge. So a few words about that, and then have your questions. So let's get started. Why personalization? Why did we feel this was a topic that we wanted to address? And just a quick metric a quick survey that I came across, and I think it captures it, is that when asking marketers what are the two most effective techniques that they see is mapping the customer experience and personalizing the customer experience. So those are the most effective in green, but they're also the most difficult to execute. And I think this is where we see this opportunity that if there were some ways to reduce that effort, to reduce that difficulty level, you could still enjoy that effectiveness. And this is what I think prompted us to talk about this, speaking with Yotam. And Yotam, you're getting also those inputs right from the community, questions about how to personalize experiences on the website. Are those the same things that you're also coming across as being something that's very effective and also very challenging as well?
Yes, both on the community level and on non-personal level. I think it's pretty clear nowadays that the challenge has shifted from bringing lots of traffic to your website to what you do with it afterwards, and how you make sure that the customer experience is the right one. And we all feel that our websites are too generic. For instance, in my company, we just now finished, it sounds silly, but the most basic level of customization, we're only now being able to offer it in different languages. Think about that as the most basic level of personalization. So, and we're a big company with a lot of resources. So I think that's very much missing and hurting a lot of the sales funnels today.
Yeah, so I think this is why we also thought this would be interesting, because a lot of companies are still early in the game of personalization, of adapting their website or creating what we call adaptive experiences. And really the first thing, as Yotam mentioned, is just being able to address in the right language, right? That's the basic type of a personalized or contextual experience. What I wanted to share also, and this is some data that we have here at Trend Demon, which we kind of connected also with external data from McKinsey about how the buyer's journey actually looks like. And we have it broken up to three steps, like everything in the world, right? We have the external part, which is what happens before a person comes to your website. We have the unknown stage, which happens on your website, but where the user isn't identified. You don't know who they are, but they are engaging with your content. And then you have the known stage, where they've signed up, they've submitted, they've filled the form, and you already know who they are in your marketing automation, CRM, and so forth. What McKinsey found is that 35% of the research is happening on the external side, right? On sites like G2, Gartner, Forrester, TechTarget, all those different publishers, especially around the ABM perspective, that can also provide those intent signals. And they would read 8 to 12 pieces in that part. I think the interesting thing that we wanted to focus on this talk is that there's a very large amount, a very huge portion of the journey and of the content that's being consumed at the anonymous stage on the website. So 45%, 10, 15 pieces, are consumed on your site without you knowing who the user is, you, the marketer, knowing who the user is. And then lastly is really only 4 to 7 is post-contact. This is from the statistics we have from the customer journey from anonymous to known. And this is pretty much the distributions we see in cyber, in tech, in IT-facing companies. And if we had to pick an area that we see the biggest challenge and the biggest opportunities is really this part, right? Because this is where deals can die or they can move forward. And this is also where you want to have the most impact there, and you can influence a lot of what's going to happen later on. So this is just in terms of kind of the distribution and the customer journey. And we're going to speak with Daniel in a second. He's going to share their challenge of a very long customer journey, right? It's a long, complex, and with multiple personas engaging from every company. So you have many people who are not going to be anonymous, even though other people from the organization are going to be known. So you may have complete journeys and accounts that are still anonymous, but you do want to provide a better experience for them, regardless of that. I wanted to start by actually giving a few thoughts about the consumer buyer journey, and you may ask yourself, why are we talking about the consumer buyer journey? What's the connection? We're here to talk about the B2B buyer journey, and I think we have a very kind of specific way that we're thinking about the buyer journey, and not just us. This is from Forrester, and this was always the traditional distinction between the B2B buyer and the B2C buyer, where the B2B buyer has been kind of regarded as a known user, rational, interdependent, so they always have to consult with other people, considered and loyal, where the consumers, so us as consumers, are anonymous, emotional, independent, transactional, and mutable, which I actually had to look up that word. I didn't know that, so it's susceptible to change. Again, not a native. So these were kind of the ideas that we've had around the traditional types. But what Forrester has found is really this: we're now looking at a new type of B2B buyer, right? They're a hybrid. Many of them are anonymous, as we discussed just before. A lot of their journeys is in an anonymous stage. They're emotional, so the experience here matters. They're still interdependent. They can make just a buying decision on their own, considered, but they are mutable, so they're very susceptible to change. And these are, I think, the two areas where we wanted to kind of highlight the difference, and why what are the inspirations and the takeaways that we can take from the consumer journey that would help us as B2B marketers. By the way, Daniel, is that something that you also start to see more and more on, that kind of consumerization of the B2B journeys and the personas? Are you also thinking about those experiences as you're building your assets and your journeys?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that today there are a lot more players in the terms of providing product and solutions for B2B. It's not like before that you needed some kind of product. This is the company that has this product. This is the company that had this solution. I need to go and I'm going to get that. Today, also in B2B, there's a lot more choices, similar to B2C. Purchasing, when now where the products are shifting more to software as a service, or any kind of product as a service. People also to purchase it or to get it, it's a lot more easier, and don't have to have so many stakeholders involved for each kind of decision. That's our take on it.
Yeah, and I think there's this huge abundance, right, of content. So, like you said, there's the ability of the buyer to educate themselves in the anonymous way. So they're out there, they're getting a lot more information, and there's a lot more variety from different vendors. And the other thing that we wanted to kind of highlight, first of all, a growing part of the buyers are becoming, of course, naturally are going to be younger and younger. So Gen Xers, millennials, and they have a different way of operating than maybe the older buyers. So that was a survey done by Business Review. 78% won't fill forms to get information, right? They will only, and we talked about this, Daniel, before, right? They will only raise their hand when they're ready to engage, or they only identify themselves at that point. And that's definitely something to keep in mind, that it's no longer the case of let's gate everything or let's ask information, because we're going to alienate, we're going to disengage a lot of those people at that anonymous stage that could be good, relevant buyers, but won't participate or won't engage just to fill information to get content and to fill their details. And I want to throw you to a completely different direction in terms of inspiration of how to think about the journey that you're building. Now, we all have our own journeys as consumers that are seamless, effortless, and contextual, right? When you go on Spotify, Amazon, Netflix, all of these places have these seamless experiences where it's easy to sign up, it's hassle-free, it's effortless. And more importantly, once you're engaged on those platforms, there is a contextual journey that keeps you engaged in those platforms. So if I'm watching content, I will get relevant recommendations. If I'm listening to certain types of music, I will get those recommendations. If I'm browsing certain products, and I start to expect this contextual experience, this journey, this adaptive experience in the digital realm. And this is what we're talking about. Eventually, these are digital experiences, and people have grown kind of accustomed to a certain way of getting this information. And what we I think what we're seeing is that marketers are trying to provide more and more of those contextual, effortless experiences. They should be looking at that from that perspective. One final point before we kind of go into AudioCodes, just to help understand the types of personalization that we identify, or the levels, right? 3 shades of hate. We're basically saying the first type, or the basic level, is really identity. Yotam mentioned language. So being able to connect a certain user from a certain geography to their language, or to be able to identify the company that a user is coming from, right? From ABM, if I know their IP, I can show them specific content, but it's still on the identity level. It's a tactical type of personalization. There's the journey level, which is on top of that, which asks the questions: where did they come from? Where are they now? Where do I want them to go? Right? So it's a more contextual, multi-stage, multi-session type of engagement that I want to build. And the last piece is attribution. How do I know which assets I want to put in front of the user at every stage? So these are kind of very high-level distinctions, and think about them as stages that you want to think through as you're building those journeys and those personalized experiences. And I think this is as we were talking with Daniel, really seeing that transition from just personalizing the moments, the session level, the identity level, to how do you go to transform the journey, to adapt the journey and personalize it. So I'll hand it off to Daniel, and Daniel, maybe just start off with again some high-level insights on AudioCodes and how your marketing operation really looks like. Feel free to let me know when you're ready to move on with every slide.
Okay, I think we can start with the first slide when I'm showing a little bit about the company. So again, a little overview. AudioCodes is a leading provider of communication software. So basically, you can see of our main navigation of our website. It's a huge amount of products. We are working with partners, channel partners, solution partners, service providers, and customers. Also, end customers from different sizes, from companies with 200 seats to companies with 5K seats and up. Our users also can vary between entry-level IT to chief technology officers. Some of them we have some solutions that are more for project managers, some for product managers, and really it's if you go to our website, you'll see that it's you can really find almost anything there for that's related to technology, voice over IP technology. It's one of the we really have everything there. In terms of marketing, I think that as Avishai mentioned, I think we have been going through different phases, and now we really are putting our foot on the gas in terms of everything that's related to digital marketing, lead generation. Our sales cycle, which I'll talk to you about in the next slide, is very long, and for that we also need to incorporate a lot of different things along the way. So a little bit about what we're dealing with in digital marketing and in B2B. So this is basically taken from what our challenges are in AudioCodes, but I guess a lot of different B2B companies can they can refer to this as something that is also relevant to them. So first of all, our conversion cycle. So it's not only not talking about now even the when you become an opportunity and there's already business. I'm talking about even before a lead is ready to talk to salesperson. The conversion cycle is long. Our products sometimes are complex. Sometimes the user needs to come to our website at least 20 times before he decides to even fill out a form and be known to us. So, and then from there, the conversion funnel from being known to being asked to being asked to contact sales contact them, also it's a long journey. And then from there, from sales onward, also we're looking at something between 3 months and 12 months of a journey from an unknown lead to business with our company. So
Wow.
every part of that is has to be taken in consideration when you're building a journey. It's not one time you shoot once and then you got it. So of course, the portfolio of products discussed, a lot of B2B companies also have a lot of different offerings, different customers, and also we need to know, as part of the personalization process, we need to know what are the different stages in a buyer journey. So then we can adapt and target the different persona, specifically what he needs on his journey. So we won't show someone something that is not relevant because he's already made a decision about it. He doesn't need something more broader. So really what we're going to continue to talk about is how are we going to help the users get what they need, okay, which in the end it's what we need also. So first of all, we need the tools to do it. Okay, we are we use HubSpot as our marketing automation platform, also a CRM for our marketing database. We're connected to Salesforce, which holds all of our sales database. You're using other tools, Trend Demon, we're using for personalization, intent data, and etc. I'm sure Avishai will talk about Trend Demon more broadly afterwards. And Hotjar, which is one of one of many types of software that you can use for more qualitative data. So, and using all of these different technologies, what we want to know is how to target a specific user, and then how do we know where to place him? What does he want? Who is he? Where does he come from? What is he looking for? So all of these tools basically are there to help us to really put these different users into their specific buckets that we're creating for them. And that's the foundation for personalization. And so this is an example, just so you see that basically we're already starting to collect information about users. Like Avishai said, a lot of the process is before our user is even known to our system. So, but he is on our system. He is using our website. He is looking at our blog post. He is reading white papers, application notes, and we need to know about this because sometimes he's more, it's like the iceberg of the with the Titanic. You only see like the top part where he converted and you start seeing what he's doing, but below that he's done a lot of things that if you know already what he's looking at, what's interesting to him, then after that specific persona converts, then you can really assist him in going to exactly where he needs with the specific solution he wants. It's especially relevant when you have a lot of different solutions. Sometimes the user really needs your help for this. So this is an example of how we use intent data to really get to know a user even before we know his details.
So Daniel, what you're basically saying is that you're listening to those different signals that users provide, right? If it's the types of content they're consuming, if it's identity data from APM, and then the objective really is to continuously start and putting them in more identified buckets, right? So to start clustering them in clear groups to then be able to use content to move them forward. But you're also personalizing, or you're serving them content even before you know a lot about them. So you're not waiting until you're sure about who they are, right? But it's this continuous motion of learning about the user, serving them information, and then gradually knowing more about them. Is that a correct way to describe this process?
Yes, exactly. Because the unknown stage of a user is very vast, so we have to already try to assist them on that stage also, even though we don't know their email, so we can't send them a marketing email or some kind of demo offering or anything like that. But if we do know if he's from a specific industry, using different intent data from software like Trendemon, and then we can already segment, even before we can segment industry lists, ABM lists, anything that we researched that might be relevant. And then we can already start showing them different features on our website, or offering different things on their website that we know, or we believe we know, that is more relevant to these kind of accounts and users. So yeah, it's definitely something that is very important. And continuing to this slide, really this is some kind of basic setup that I want to talk about, is how are we basically segmenting the different users. Even before we know what their interests are, first of all, we want to know how active they are. What have they done on our website? So obviously we've discussed the unknown user. We have data about him from different software, and then we have a new user, which is basically someone that you know who he is, you know their emails, you already can connect an account to him, you can connect company data, the size, the location, etc. But he hasn't done a lot on your website, and that's also connected to the phase before. He hasn't done a lot on your website also before he was known. So that's important, because if someone submits a form, but then we see that he's already been on our website several times, we're not going to just look at what he's done from after we know him. We're already going to look at him in the context of his whole user journey. So then we have it split up into a few more buckets. Basically, an interested prospect, someone that has been to your website, has looked at things, downloaded a few documents, and basically he's warming up. He's still maybe looking for the specific solution, but he has you in your site, in his sites. And then the last one is really the leads that they're really already looking. They've been active on your website for the last 30 days a few times. They've read everything, and they just need the extra push to go to the next level. So that's really in a very short and simple way, which is something that I'll talk about later, which I believe in making things simple in these kinds of processes. This is the first step. So basically, what do we use? What can we do to really harness this personalization and make users really get what they need, not look for themselves all the time and maybe be confused and go to another vendor. So first of all, we have intent data, we have ABM monitoring, we know already which companies have come to our website, what they're looking at. So all of this information we've already stored, and we've already used it in order to segment our users. Then we start building different email campaigns that are specific to that topic that that person is looking at, specific to his stage, also in the buyer journey. And then it's what we call a nurture track. You're starting to get these people on a track that you're going to feed them all the time information and content that is relevant to them, in order for them to in the end they're going to decide that your solution is something that's right for them, and then you can continue. Also, personalized CTAs. So if you're showing pop-ups or banners or different buttons on your website, we try to also add that in terms of personalization, showing specific buttons to specific people. And then also off your website, we try and continue this, being on top of mind of our users, make sure that our solution is out there, it's recommended, and you shouldn't forget, even if you're not with us right now, we're still gonna make sure that you remember us. And that's that's basically where retargeting comes in. It's not just general ads that we're showing to everyone, but we're showing specifically to users that we know have already shown some kind of interest in it.
And I think, Daniel, this really captures the essence of what's unique about kind of the next level of personalization. So it's not just waiting for a user to submit an email to sign up, only then starting to kind of tailor the experience just through the nurture campaigns, right, through traditional marketing automation. But it's looking and finding opportunities to personalize all the experiences, regardless of, if I have his email or if I don't have, on your site as well as off your site, right? So sponsored is, you can think of it as off-site personalization, right? You want to show them relevant content, even if they're not visiting your site. You want to show them relevant content when they are visiting, and the data that feeds that is, ABM, intent, and so forth. So I think this really is a very unique scenario. This is the the user journey that you have. Very complex. I think it's you guys have a jungle, right, of content and of product. So it'd be interesting to see how you navigate us through this maze.
Yeah, so it's even more complicated than that, I have to say, because it's not a linear path that are, of course, you're not pushing them through one path and then they're going to come out the other side as business. Basically, this is the path is something that is a guideline. It's something that you need to look at, but it's from every part of this stage of the journey, we're all the time also coming from them from different angles. So if we know some people leave this specific journey and go into a different journey, but all the time we're looking at them as where they are, what they've done on our website, even if they go to a specific, if they're not interested in a specific product and we see again that they're looking at something else, we can still continue to try and get them from other areas. So it's important to know that there's no one way ticket for this. It's really all the time working around, and I'll put another emphasis on this at the end of the journey. But basically, yeah, like I discussed, getting the intent data by lists, by different industries that we know, by geolocation that we think some kind of product or solution is now relevant for that location. And the reason for the pop-ups and CTAs is, it's not just to pop up in their face and spam them. It's really to remove the friction of trying to find, sometimes on big websites, what they're looking for. So we try to understand if they're looking for a specific product, then maybe we'll offer it to them before they even get to that page, and then we'll send them there they can look at it. So a lot of our CTAs and pop-ups are also, they're not acquisition forms. A lot of them are just sending them to other places where there they can learn more and then continue on their journey.
Right, because
Yeah.
what you're basically showing, and this will be available for download after the webinar. So don't feel the need to go and memorize. But I think that what Danny here is showing is really kind of how they're thinking about the different stages of the process, but also, right, it's not it's not really the ways that really journeys happen, right? They happen chaotically, but you're trying to make sure that their experience at every stage is as optimal as possible, that they're being exposed to the relevant assets for their specific stage until they're moved into the next stage. So it's more kind of really kind of an operational framework than a representation of actual journeys that happen, right?
Right, exactly. So yeah, so basically after a user converts on our website, not to sales, but that you have their email and their data, then we try and segment them, trying to really figure out where this person goes and which kind of area. Is he closer to closing? Does he want more information? And we're updating everything all the time. Like if someone sees a specific CTA or specific banner, then we make sure that that person is not going to see that same banner, because we know, okay, if he clicked that, then maybe he should see something else right now. Or if he filled a specific form, we're trying to get him to have something different. We don't want users to see repetitive things on our website. We want them to feel like they're getting like they're really getting things that they need. And then, of course, we're continuing with what we discussed in the previous slide, retargeting and email campaign nurture tracks. And the last part basically is our strategic decision in AudioCodes is that we're not going to talk to any of the users on our website unless they specifically asked us to talk to them. So that's what we call hand raisers. So even if a user has been on our website, he's downloaded 5 white papers, he's been to a webinar, he's done everything, we're going to assist him in trying with follow-ups, with different landing pages, etc. We're going to assist them in trying to offer them, maybe you want, if you want to learn more, maybe this is something that we can expand on. And then we're trying to push him more and more into raising his hand and saying, yes, I want to talk to you. And we've noticed that in terms of qualification, then our leads are a lot more qualified when they get to a salesperson after they've already asked to be contacted, and not if they've just done a lot of things on our website and we say, okay, you should talk to him because he looks relevant. I mean, it sounds obvious, but I mean, a lot of companies still go through the way that with a specific scoring method, then someone goes to sales. For us, it doesn't. It's something that we decided not to do, and we're seeing a lot of success from that.
And I think it's when you first talked about this, I thought this was such, it's a simple, but it's such a powerful idea. Don't approach anybody who hasn't raised their hand. And I think this is basically how we would like to be treated, right? As buyers ourselves, to be approached when we are ready, and then look at marketing's roles as really as an enabler and providing the information, as opposed to saying, hey, if I got to my quota of leads, then I'm finished, right? I've got you, 300 MQLs, then done. But no, you're seeing your role as not just providing number of leads, but really bringing the relevant, more mature leads, the leads at the right stage, the people at the right stage, so that really sales can have a much quicker, better, more effective process.
Exactly. And the last part, I'll just touch on 2 minutes. On the slide, the last part of this is that even after a lead has been created and go to sales, we still continue to feed sales with data related to what their account is doing, with a lot of different information, so they know maybe more context of how to discuss with them. And maybe we'll talk about that at the end also.
Yeah.
Daniel, I have a question about the flow. For me as a layman, I'm not an expert on marketing automation. It looks kind of intimidating. I mean, I would never have created this, just on my intuition. And I guess you didn't either. So how long did it took you to come to this situation? How painful was it?
And that's a good question. And obviously, yes, it's not something that's a done deal. And you one day wake up in the morning and you say, oh, I know what to do. So it's a long process. And I think at the end also, I'm going to talk a little bit about what were our pain points, what to deal with and stuff like that. But yeah, it's something that you build over time. It takes a lot of time, and it's a lot of trial and error. All the time you add another step, and then you see one thing is not working, then you add a different step, and you A/B test everything, and you test the emails, and you test the content. So all the time you're building more and more to this journey until you find the kind of an optimal path, which obviously also you need to always change and modify and adapt. So it's no, it's definitely not something that you create from 0 to 100 in a day. It's a building path.
Great. So I think we're almost out of time. So I think we're going to run through kind of the last few points and maybe talk really about the key takeaways, Daniel, that we've learned, and then maybe just spend a few more minutes on the few other topics. I think we have enough material here for 3 webinars, but we'll try to get through kind of the key points and takeaways, I think. So Dan, when we talked about this, you said really We have to make it simple. And I think what you've seen here is an evolution of steps, but really trying to think right in those building blocks of which stages, main stages do we have, and really start small and then grow to those kind of more elaborate paths and journeys that Daniel has shared. I think that's definitely something that we urge everybody to do. Always start simple, start small. And then you said know when to stop. What do you mean by that? I think that's an interesting point. I'd love to
I think that it's important to understand where you're over personalizing, where you're trying to over complicate the journey, and it connects basically all of these points somehow are all pretty much related to really trying to put the user first in terms of what they need to get done on our website. I think that just a small example of something small that we did that skyrocketed our download rate of different assets is known users that we already have their information. We're going to ask them for either a really small amount of their information to download a gated asset, or we're not going to ask at all. So this is something that was not done, and it sounds also trivial, but if you have someone's details already, don't ask for it all the time. It's a friction point, and that's yeah.
Perfect. Just really want to run through quickly because I know we're just out of time. And I think that just in terms of the framework, and this will be available offline, so you can take a deeper look at this afterwards. But just as Daniel described, this is a general framework of once you've grouped different products and personas, you want to start grouping your assets into what we call content pools to be able to deliver them those better experiences. But also think about the stages of your assets. So which content is relevant for landing, so for initial users, nurturing, conversion. And that will help you make those connections between certain audiences / personas and certain clusters of content. Now, they're not usually built as your website is built, right? You're going to have a combination of a white paper, of a blog post, of a case study, and you want to be able to string them together in a relevant experience, in a contextualized experience, right? To be your Netflix for your users. And then my takeaway from Daniel is wait for the hand raise. I think it's so obvious and so simple, but many of us start kind of go very aggressively towards we got the lead, sales, go after it, and not really look for those signals that the user is ready, right? You're always trying to listen if that user really wants to engage with your company, or they're just in for the information. And I think that's something that we see the more advanced marketers do very well. This is how recommendations look like, and when they're relevant, the CTRs are amazing. When to just touch on another point where we didn't get into this, again, topic for another webinar, but talking about content hubs and being able to connect personas with destinations that have these customized experience for them, we see double-digit CTRs there. So these are just through the roof. When you're able to really properly connect assets with users and personas, this is where magic happens. This is where really you see people engage with your content and move forward, as opposed to kind of wander off or get lost in your jungle of assets. Right, and Danny, you're seeing that as well. So AudioCodes is also, I think, making very smart use of content hubs as well.
Yes, definitely. We've started using it in the last couple of months, not only for marketing, but also for sales, generating specific landing pages that sales can, with the dynamic content that sales can send over to different prospects to learn more about us, but definitely also for marketing, that is sending them to areas where really you can really choose content that's really relevant for you. So we've seen a lot of success in it, and a lot of people are asking for these right now at our company.
Right, and we talked about the connection, the integration between sales and marketing as becoming closer and closer. So one thing before we talk about tools, we talked about this: keep it simple, keep it manageable. And I think one of the things that people many times overlook: start with the basic experiences, right? Personalization is a more advanced level. Many times we come and the company's basic experience is subpar. So first of all, make sure that your general digital experience is up to standard, because the personalization will be a layer on top of that. So you have to make sure that, we're talking about obvious things, but load time and the connectability between those things are critical. Make sure you have enough resources to make those journeys more effective, and so forth. And my takeaway again: don't force the user's hand up. Right? Let them raise them. Right? Don't push them into those places. One quick, let's say, call it a semi-hack that we came across is, for more advanced operations, a big challenge is many times for them understanding the persona. Right? So, Daniel said we're using ABM to understand the companies, but one other question is, who is that user from that company? Even if I don't know their name, maybe I can find out their role. And one thing that we've started experimenting with and see some really great results is just asking them. And this is a survey pop-up that you can just use. We're seeing huge responses there, and you can basically ask, what are you? Who are you? Give us just the general description of your role, so that we can personalize the experience. Now, the other use for this is that you can also use this to overcome those annoying accept cookies pop-up. Right? You have this pop-up on your website. It's an interaction. Why not use it to get something meaningful and get some meaningful information, and use this also to bucket your users into personas? So that's definitely something that we're looking to use more and more. We're seeing some great results there from various customers. Tools. So just wanted to put up and give a shout out to some of the tools that we're seeing companies use, and for different stages. Right, it's always about matching the tool for your stage and for your needs. So for entry level pop-ups, there's some great companies there and solutions like Pop-Up Smart and Sumo, which are great for shooting up those individual pop-ups. For content hubs and sales development, so TrendDemon has its own hub, but there are other companies like PathFactory, Uberflip, Followers that offer these solutions dedicated for sales development processes. Again, always good to check out and see those other types. Identity-based personalization. So the ABM platforms also have certain types of personalization based on identity. So you can personalize parts of your website or pop-ups. Again, not journey-based or experience, but more identity. And so these are just some of the names that are worth checking out, especially if you're using ABM. Last notes about TrendDemon, where we are and how we're positioned, our position in the stack. And again, if you want to raise a hand and get in touch, do so. If you're ready, if you want to speak with us, we'll be more than happy to. So definitely we are situated. This is a typical stack of our customers. So as Daniel mentioned, Salesforce, HubSpot, many use Marketo or Pardot as well. But generally we're positioned next to the ABM, on top of the CM, or as an augmentation for the CMS and the marketing automation, helping personalize those journeys and connecting them. So that's at least how we are positioned. And in terms of our differentiation, is that we're really looking at, we talked about the basic level of identity data, which is what most personalization offers. So if I know, which company you're from, or which country you're from, or geo, I'm going to show you relevant content for that session. We took kind of the journey approach of looking at not only identity, but also the impact of your assets, the journeys and the experiences, and that what goes into the journey building mechanism and algorithms to be able to do this at scale. So again, a more complete solution for personalizing the entire journey for cases, just as Daniel mentioned, multiple personas, multiple products, and you're trying to give those kind of yellow brick roads through your jungles of content to your users, so they feel like they're walking a path, as opposed to in having to invest effort to get information. Right? You want to make that effortless, and you want to make sure that everybody's getting their relevant experience and their adaptive experiences. So that's for the system. Quick last words on MazeMaster. So we're launching the competition. We get signups. If you're a marketer that wants to try and get into personalization, and you want to make it, and we want to make it interesting, so we've made a contest out of it. So sign up here at MazeMaster, trendemon.com/MazeMaster, and you can apply. And what we're doing is we're having the next month basically as a competition to see which marketer that is using Trendemon is going to be able to achieve highest uplifts. And I think the interesting thing for the community is that we're going to share those successful journeys. What worked, right? Which of those experiments actually worked in getting people more engaged and more uplifts to their business goals. So that's something we're doing with our prizes, of course, and you can check it out on our website. That's it from my end. Yotam, do we have any questions? Any specific other topics you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, I have a question of my own. As I mentioned earlier, this might seem difficult, intimidating. What would you, and this is referred to both of you, what would be the first step if I were to take this personalization journey? How would you recommend that we even approach this?
I'd like to share a few things, and Avishai probably would also. So I think that first of all is choose a specific. If you have several products or something, or you're usually companies are selling more than one thing, then I would focus first of all on one product, one persona. So it would be if it's a partner or if it's an end customer, then focus on one of them. Then first of all, try and understand what they're doing and try to build small things that are specifically for those companies or persona types. And then, from that, you can always expand. So first check a few things, and once you see that they work, then it's easier to expand than doing a lot of things and then not understanding what works or what doesn't.
Yeah, I think that just some points to think about when you're looking at your website. There are some of the obvious things. Just to make sure you're not recommending information that the user has already seen. So that's a very basic level, right, of personalization, that you want them to be exposed to new information. And we see that many times. You have these beautiful websites, but the connections between them or the recommendations are not personalized, they're not adaptive. And that's just a wasted experience, right? That was an opportunity to bring something new, and that was a wasted. So these are simple things. You don't need elaborate technology for that, but they will get users more engaged, consume more content on your site, and definitely a good starting spot. And completely agree with Daniel. Start small. Start with one persona and one pool, right? That you want to try and build the optimal experience. See how that works, and then add more from that point.
Terrific advices. So I'd like to thank you, Avishai, Daniel. It's been extremely educational for myself, and I'm sure for many of our audiences. As I mentioned, we'll have at the deck and a summary shared with you guys later, along with Avishai and Daniel's contact details. I'm sure they'll be happy to take on any questions that you might have. And we'll see you here together on our next webinar. So thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Yotam.
Thank you, Avishai. Bye. Thank you, Tom. Bye, guys.
Cheers. Bye-bye.